All right, acting locally again. This is my roof, part of my roof. That's my daughter up on the roof. She was instrumental in specking out the array that went on the roof up here. So you can do this at home, if you've got a good roof for it. And I'll come back to how CCA was going to help, hopefully, a lot more people do this. Go ahead. This is an excerpt from a chart that I presented in this room to the school district, or to the Novato Unified School District Board over a year ago now. And this shows, the thing to look at is at the bottom. There's a potential of 1.4, 1.5 megawatts of solar. What this translates to is basically that there's a lot of free photons falling on the rooftops of the schools, and including the building you're sitting in. Then county employee Gwen Johnson, now Gwen Rose, and I went up on the rooftops of every school in the NUSD and this building as well, and to compile these numbers. Okay, this is just from Google Earth, Google Maps. This is looking down on an area around Hill Middle School. So you can see the street grid here and the electricity grid. You see why we call it a grid. The lines are running pretty much along the streets. Hill Middle School, there on the lower right, is strangely askance. And why is that? It's because it's pointing south. The people who built this school, I'm not sure how long ago, maybe one of the school board members can tell us, maybe 50 or more years ago, they knew what that meant. And they designed the school to maximize southern exposure. Okay. All right, so here's my roof again. And what's wrong with this picture? One of the big problems here is that there just aren't enough of them. And so what we need to do, and what CCA, I am hoping, is going to help us do, is turn the tables. If it's left up to cranks like me to put solar up on their rooftops one at a time, it's not going to go anywhere near fast enough. And I missed reading out Huey Johnson's, or at least it's attributed to Huey Johnson's quote at the beginning, which is that the scale of the solution needs to be proportionate or commensurate to the scale of the problem. Waiting for people to put up arrays one at a time is just not good enough. It's not enough soon enough. All right, go ahead. So again, looking at how some of the bigger picture fits in, this is the plug-in Prius. It's a hacked Prius put together by some folks right here in Marin County. And you can barely see on this slide, but there's a little orange plug hanging out the back, which I'm sure would not be doing that underway, but they've chosen to make this illustrative. So how does this fit in? I'm not going to read this whole quote, but this is from a recent release by EPRI, the Electric Power Research Institute in Palo Alto. The idea of the transportation grid hopping onto the electricity grid is something that utilities really like. And why is this? If you look at an average sort of load profile, this is for a summer day. It looks different in winter, but this is a somewhat simplified example. This is from the California Energy Commission. As you'd expect, a lot more energy is being used during the day, especially in the summer, in the afternoon, during peak hours for air conditioning. So what's the great thing about what's the terrible tyranny of this graph is that the utility needs to size their production capacity for the top of that graph, for the cyan area there at the peak. And the rest of the time, there's a lot of production capacity spent idling. So to be able to use some of that capacity to charge plug-in hybrids, or hopefully soon completely electric vehicles, would be a really great thing. So that's why I put the little Prius down there and pointed it to the trough of this graph. Various people would like to use the plug-ins, keep them on the grid during the day while people are at work in buildings like this. So the utility has a chance to siphon some of the energy back out of them to shave the peak off of that grid, as well as to fill the trough. All right, so let's take a look at acting locally again. Everyone here has, I think, mentioned the 3 E's of sustainability by now. Marin County is actually pretty long on the environment angle, so I don't really feel like I need to cover that territory. But those of us working with Sustainable Marin and our recent and happy partnership in a series with the Marin Interfaith Council have been challenged to redouble our efforts to look at the other 2 E's, at equity and economy. So, for example, some open questions I have here. How many solar arrays are there in Marin City? And 2, what's the average R value of the apartment blocks in the Canal District? I used to commute through there every day on my way to ILM on the buses. It's an interesting building problem. So here's the equity aspect of community choice aggregation. We have to put money into improving the homes of those who are least able to afford it. And how is that going to happen? If the CCA comes in, which I would like to see it do, one of the things I would like to see most is what I referred to earlier as turning the tables. We need people knocking on your door. If you have a good roof for solar, the utility should be coming after you. They shouldn't be waiting for you to come to them. And that should also include conservation and energy efficiency. When the California Energy Commission talks about this, they use the term loading order. You know, in what order are we going to go after either anything that affects our energy? Conservation is the first thing because it requires zero new technology. The only technology required is in changes of human behavior. The next one is typically efficiency, which has one of the best paybacks in saved megawatts per dollar invested of anything.
And John?
And others will be talking more about that.
On that note, I need to move us on, so
Okay.
Can you just summarize for us?
The last one, skip this, and there's the summary. So what I wanted to say was that CCA fits into both global and local pictures. It makes sense from all three of the E's of sustainability. It gives us local control of energy policy, which others have talked about much more. And CCA is at least part of a solution